Can you see the slides?
Yes.
Okay. So salutations to our Guru, Adi Shankaracharya and Swami Paramarthananda. And let me get started. This is Shloka number 35. Evam cha Vedanta Vakyaiha Sadguru Upadeshena cha Sarveshwapi Bhuteshu Yesham Brahma Buddhir Utpanna Te Jivan Mukta Iti Arthaha. So let us understand and break down the shloka, and we'll come back to the shloka. So the word that is used in this is guru, right? Sadguru Upadeshena. So let us understand who's a Sadguru. So the word Sat is understood as good, and Guru is divided into two parts, Gu and Ru. Guru means remover of ignorance. That is Guru. So this definition is interesting, and we'll come back to this. So the characteristics, when we say guru is something that we have traditionally been used to in our, in Indian tradition, we have had the concept of gurus for a long time. So who's a guru? Guru is supposed to have three characteristics. One is Shrotriya. Shrotriya is someone who's knowledgeable on the Shruti texts. So Shruti texts are the Vedas and whatever has been passed on from the rishis, right? So Guru is supposed to be a Shrotriya, someone who's complete knowledge of the Shruti text. Then a Guru should have Brahmanishta. Brahmanishta means someone who's established in the truth, who's established in Brahman. So actually, it means someone who's already realized. Um, but normally, that's a hard thing for most of the people to understand who's already established. We can only infer based on their outward how they conduct themselves in their day-to-day life, and whether you see the guru actually following what we have learned through all these teachings, right? And Shrotriya, one more interesting thing, what is said is, Guru is someone who comes down via a tradition. So someone who's followed some kind of tradition. It could be Advaita, it could be Dvaita, it could be something else completely. But someone who has been a disciple of another Guru, and that Guru is supposed to be, someone who's following the tradition. So an interesting thing Swami Sarvapriyananda says, that when we go to buy a computer, right, we can get a computer for us assembled in a garage, or you can buy a computer from a showroom, right? What is it we will go to? So we will go to, let's say, a showroom or some established brand. So what that brand tells us is that there is a tradition, and you can be sure that it is that tradition which is passing on that knowledge. So even if you go to someone else, it's possible they know it, but it is just that you don't have the assurance that it is coming from the right sources and it has been interpreted in the right manner. So that is why the importance of guru is there. And then guru should be a kamahata. A kamahata means desireless. Guru should be without kama. That means the objective of the teaching should not be for material desires, right? If you see that there is a lot of material desires the guru has, and you are basically doing a lot of payment for that, then that might not be the right qualification for a true guru, especially for this kind of spiritual teaching. So that is the guru. And coming to the remover of ignorance, so that's an interesting concept. So normally there is a slight difference between a guru and a teacher. So teacher is supposed to be someone who tells you or who shows you some knowledge, right? And a guru, who is the remover of ignorance, is someone who is actually clearing your path by ensuring that your ignorance goes away. So it's like that knowledge is already within us. So that is the interesting point. I thought that knowledge is already within us. What that guru is doing is just removing the veil of ignorance so that that knowledge shines forth. That is why
Ashma,
the, yeah.
Ashma, sorry to interrupt. Since you're the host, I think you will have a button at the bottom. You will have to let Ridhima in.
Let me do that.
Sorry
Okay,
about
no problem. Okay, so continuing from there, mm, we'll go to the next thing about levels of perception. And there are three levels of perception. One is pratyaksha, which is a direct knowledge through sense objects, which is also called stula drishti. Whatever we are able to see or perceive through our sense objects is pratyaksha. Uh, then you have paroksha, which is indirect knowledge. So pratyaksha will be everything, right? It also involves our direct perception of our direct understanding of ourselves. That I am here is also pratyaksha. It's a direct knowledge for me. Now, if you take indirect knowledge is based through inference, which is supposed to be sukshma drishti or paroksha jnana. So, what is this? So, when we look at any scientific knowledge, we are, let's assume we got to know, or whatever we are reading in our science books, or whatever we know of, that the sky is not really blue. It is all inferred knowledge. So, we have gotten the knowledge, and it is knowledge based on inference. This is sukshma drishti. And then there is aparoksha jnana. So aparoksha jnana is something where the knowledge is neither direct nor indirect. So aparoksha jnana is also called tattva drishti. And this is supposed to be more like a foundation for the other pratyaksha and paroksha. And the way to look at this is, especially our brahma jnana is aparoksha jnana. So this is not a knowledge that you can gain through your sense objects. This is not a knowledge you can gain through inference. This knowledge in states of deep meditation, when your mind attains sufficient purity, this knowledge just comes to us. It is revealed to us. And that is what is aparoksha jnana. That is beyond, it is neither direct nor indirect. Right? So with that context, we'll come to Brahma jnana. This is another concept in the shloka where it says, Sarveshu api bhuteshu yesham brahma buddhir utpanna. So, when a person realizes the presence of Brahman in all beings, so we saw in our last shlokas, we talked about Jiva and Ishvara Aikyam, where the uh, understanding of the commonality between the microcosm and the macrocosm is established. When you understand that the basic essence that you have is the existence consciousness bliss, right? Satchitananda. This is what is our understanding. Now, when you become established in that, you realize that every person is that. So, when a gold is looking at any ornament, that gold, that perception of feeling of gold is there for whether it is whether it is a necklace, whether it is a bangle, everything is gold. So that understanding that irrespective of whoever it is, that person is also actually just a form of Brahman, is what becomes established. So as a wave and an ocean, every wave realizes that the other wave is also Brahman. I am also Brahman, the other wave is also Brahman. And in this manner, a commonality or a oneness is established between all living beings. This is Brahma Jnana. And this Brahma Jnana is actually Aparoksha Jnana, right? Which is beyond a direct knowledge or an indirect knowledge. And another term which comes in the shloka, which I will not expand too much because the subsequent shlokas are going into much more detail about who is a Jivan Mukta. So there are two terms here. One is Jivan Mukti and the other is Videha Mukti. Jivan Mukti is someone who's liberated while living. In this life itself, you are liberated while living. And Videha Mukti is liberated after death, which means after death, you do not come back into the cycle of birth and death, right? It is, you do not get reborn. So samsara, so Jivan Mukti, when we say liberated while living, is someone who is liberated from samsara. And samsara is called the cycle of birth and death. And when we see samsara, what is that? So we know that we get vasanas. Vasanas are something which are our tendencies. These tendencies gives rise to desires, which is our ichha shakti, right? And then when we have ichha, that drives our action. Now, this action need not be just the action that is obvious for everyone, but action could also be, that action is also called, things like thoughts and everything. And everything that comes that gives rise to raga dvesha, which is our likes and dislikes. And every time we actually go through this behavioral pattern, these vasanas get reinforced, and we are forever caught in this cycle. And we also know that desires are never ending, right? It is not like you fulfill a desire and it gets over and you come out of it. You get a desire, it gives you happiness for a very short time, and again you get trapped in a continuous cycle of desires, a continuous cycle of action, and a continuous cycle of these likes and dislikes, which gives rise to further vasanas, and they in turn lead to, the karmas, which actually lead you to multiple births. So that is the whole concept, which we will be seeing, I think, in much more detail with the law of karma, which is following the shlokas which are related to law of karma, and also jivan mukta. So I'll not go too much into detail here. But now that we have looked at all these terms, we can come back to our shloka, which says, Evam. Thus, by the words of Vedanta, Vedanta Vakyaiha. So, Vedanta Vakyaiha should not be interpreted literally, is what I read. Vedanta Vakyai means anyone who has the philosophical knowledge, who is established in the understanding of Brahman. So it need not be only Advaita Vedanta or specific to Hinduism if you want to broaden it. It is basically someone who, the texts which actually give you the understanding that there is only one Brahman. So anything, so the by the words of Vedanta and by the teaching of a Sadguru Upadeshena, with these two together, we we develop an understanding. People who understand, who get the teachings by the words of Vedanta and use with the help of a teacher who's a Sadguru, they develop an understanding of Brahman in all the living beings, and therefore they become Jivan Mukta, or liberated in life, or liberated while living. So this was Shloka 35.
Thank you, Asha.
Thank
Uh,
you. Yeah.
any questions?
These vasanas are nothing but karmic imprints, or is there something else to it?
They are more like tendencies, Prema. So tendencies means they're more like, what you're inclined to do, your natural leaning towards something, right? So some people are by nature, when they are born, no one teaches them, right? By nature you can make out that they lean towards something. So some people can be by nature generous. You don't say that, you have to be generous. You don't learn through memories. So it's not like, okay, I was stingy the last time, so this time I should be generous. It's not, that doesn't teach us. But some people you will see by nature are a particular way. That nature that you're forming, that is tendencies, and that is the vasanas.
So they are not driven by our past karmic actions or anything,
So
right?
karmic actions should be interpreted only in terms of the tendencies you do. So you give in to some particular thing and you do it again and again. That thing imprint becomes strong. Actually, it's very close to science, right? In science also, it is said that our brain functions with the neural neurons that are firing in the brain. The more you repeat a behavioral pattern, the more those neurons get strengthened, right? Anything you do, the more it's a habit forming thing. So you do that again and again, it becomes a habit for you. It actually comes very close to science, I thought, these tendencies. So it is tendencies from a spiritual perspective, but it is behavioral patterns from a science perspective, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah. Anand, can you present? Can you share the screen or?
Yeah, I thought you wanted to be the host, and I made you the host. Let me.
Yeah. So how do I share it?
You just need to go down. There's something called as a share screen.
Yeah, I do that.
Click on that, and then you will have to open the PowerPoint.
Where is that? I mean, so I think you'll be the host for some time, and then once you share, after give me the.
Okay, so I will take the host things back, and I will go ahead and
Yeah.
share the
Sure.
screen. Okay, there you go. Okay, 1 second, hold on. This is your
Yeah.
screen, I guess.
Yes, it is.
Okay, all yours.
Thank
Let
you.
me know when I have to go to the next slide.
So this is Shloka 36, in continuation with what Asha was explaining. So, Nanu Jivan Mukta Kaha, Yata Dehoham, Purushoham, Brahmanoham, Shudro Hamasmiti, Druda Nishchayastasya, Naham, Brahmanana, Shudra, na Purusha, Kintu Asangaha, Satchitananda Swarupa, Prakasha Swarupa, Sarvantaryami, Chidananda Swarupa, Smiti, Druda Nishchaya Rupo, Paroksha Jnana, Jivan Mukta. So basically, it is. How do I go to the next page? It's not happening. Okay. Yeah. Can you just go to the next page? Yeah. So broadly, what this sloka means is, just as one who has the firm belief that I am the body, I am the man, I am the Brahmin, Shudra, I am, in the same way, he also has a firm understanding that I am not a man, I am not a Brahmin or a Shudra or a man or a woman. But I am unattached of the nature of Satchit Ananda, indweller of all, the formless awareness. Thus, one having this firm assertion that with aparoksha jnanam, immediate knowledge, he is the Jivan Mukta. So we heard from Asha, who is a Jivan Mukta. Jivan Mukta is someone who is a jnani, who has a benefit to enjoy this knowledge, or the jnani who enjoys this knowledge when he is alive in the world, when he has the body, where he is in the body, or who has a family, who is in the samsara, right? So he is someone who has ups and downs, who has a suffering like anyone else. In spite of all of this, jnani is someone who also has a inner contentment, or inner balance of mind, inner strength, and inner joy. In and through all of them, he has this benefit of enjoying this qualities. He is the one who is called Jivan Mukta, right? Even during though this person in the living in this samsara, he also get a shock. Suppose when he listens to any tragic thing, he also respond with a shock. But then sooner or later, his teaching comes to his rescue, and he is able to see that all this is for a mortal or a finite I. That immortal I or the infinite I is not even affected a bit, because he is able to invoke that higher I, higher knowledge, that he is that consciousness. He is not the one which limits his perception, right? So it is like how the stars which are in the sky suddenly disappears when the sun rises. Until before the arrival of the sun, stars are shining. But the moment sun rises, stars are there. But in the presence of that higher light, they become insignificant. Similarly, with the invocation of that higher I, all the incidental problems becomes, or the tragedies becomes insignificant. He is able to bounce back and say, so what? After hearing the shocking news also, within few hours, he is able to brush it aside and say that, and come back to composure and move on in life. Right? This jnanam gives the emotional immunity. This jnanam gives the strength to bounce back in life, even there are problems. Thus, this higher I is available for him to invoke at will for a jnani. And he is called Jivan Mukta. Before this self-knowledge or this self-realization, he naturally, let's go to the next slide. Can you go to the next slide? Yeah. So, before the self-knowledge or the self-realization, he is very much says that, I am the body, I am a Brahmin or a Shudra, man or a woman. He does not need a proof. It comes very natural, right? But the moment that realization happens, he understands. For example, like the actor remembering in the background that, all these things are the role which are happening on the stage, right? Suppose, imagine he's playing a role of Rama and Sita is lost. He's crying and moving everywhere and asking every tree and stone, where is my Sita? Where is my Sita? But inside him, he sees that, his wife, his real wife is sitting right in front of the stage. And he tells himself, thank God, this is just a role I am playing. Right? So that though his drama continues, his role continues, and he's still crying, but his inner composure is there. That he's certain that, nothing really happened to him. It is that temporary role that he's playing. Same way, even for this Jivan Mukta, that is how you participate in the role of life, in the game of life, whether he's a father, husband, son, wife, daughter-in-law, anybody it is, right? So he is able to invoke that higher problem-free I whenever needed, right? So then what is that? Then who is I? So when we ask, it says, Yata Deha Tatana. So with that inner higher I, the same person is able to say that, I am not a Brahman, not a Shudra, not a man, not a woman. There is a transformation in his conviction after the realization. He comes to know that I am separate from these identifications, right? Like the musician who is playing different songs, having Shruti all the time. Even though he sings varieties of songs, in all through, he will have that Shruti. The moment he forgets that Shruti, that song becomes Apashruti. For him to remember, you don't have to stop the song, singing. You just have to get present to. So it becomes very important to hold on to that awareness or that realization, to know the real I. Then who is that real I? Can you go to the next slide? So who is that I? Asanga, Satchit Ananda Swarupa, Prakasha Rupa, Sarvantaryami, Chidakasha Rupa. Asanga means I am unattached. I am free from all the associations or the identifications that I have. I am the nature of existence, consciousness, and bliss. I am the awareness of my ultimate reality. I am the indweller of all. I am the formless awareness. So what are the attachments we have? We are attached to our three states of existence. Jagrat, Swapna, Shushupti, and the 5 sheets, Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, and Anandamaya. And 3 personalities of gross, subtle, and causal body. So I am none of these. I am that unattached, Asanga. I am Sat Chit Ananda Swarupa. I am that absolute being. I am that pure consciousness which does not bound by time, does not change ever. Can you go to the next slide? Yeah. Prakasha Swarupa. Prakasha means I am that consciousness principle which reveals not only body, mind, sense complex, but the entire material universe. First, I reveal the body, mind, sense complex. Then I use body, mind, sense complex as an instrument to reveal the external world. I am the illuminator of the entire material world. So, I am the illuminator of the entire material. It is the original light. Like, I think 2 weeks back, where Varsha was explaining the original consciousness, reflected consciousness, the reflected medium. So, I am not a RC. I am that original consciousness, OC, not the reflected, right? And I am Sarvantaryami, indweller of all. I am not confined to this body alone. I am present in every body, like the wave which recognizes it as a water. It says, I am not the wave confined to that location, but I am the water behind all the waves. Similarly, I am the consciousness behind all the bodies, like the thread behind all the beads. But the thread is invisible. But without the thread, the beads cannot hold together. Right? I am that. Chidakasha Rupam. I am like that Akasha which pervades everything and who supports everything, not affected by anything. Therefore, I am Chidakasha, space like consciousness, which does not have a form. It is a formless awareness. So, all these are not mere words for a jnani. This jnana, this realization does not happen just like that. It takes a long process of Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasana. Every word uttered here is a meaningful word. Not only every word is meaningful, he claims this one is I myself. This knowledge is called Aparoksha Jnanam, claiming that the consciousness is myself. I do not say consciousness is inside me or consciousness is outside me. I say consciousness is me, myself. This knowledge is called Aparoksha Jnanam. That's why it says Dhrida Nishchaya Rupa Aparoksha Jnanam Jivan Mukta. This firm conviction and knowledge that I am Brahman is the Dhrida Nishchaya, is that Jnani who is aware of. For him, his mind does not become overjoyed for some happy events happens in his life. Neither he get carried away with some disturbed events, nor he get traumatized. He enjoys the samatvam in and through all the situations in life. These are all the emotional, intellectual benefits. So this benefit the Jivan Mukta has is the emotional immunity. Jivan Mukti is nothing but the emotional immunity. This Jnanam is the only one which can give emotional immunity. Especially as we grow old, our emotional issues become stronger and stronger. We have a fear of old age, fear of disease, fear of death, fear of losing relationships. Lot of things, right? So loneliness, emotional problems will increase as we grow old. We cannot share our problems with anybody. People don't have time. Even our kids are busy in their life. So we have to confront that loneliness alone, whatever it is. But with this knowledge, Jnani does not suffer the old age or any of these problems which comes. Because for him, he can invoke that higher nature instead of complaining about the loss of things and non-availability of people or anything it is. So Jnanam means no complaints. Anything is okay, everything is okay. But this emotional immunity comes only through knowledge. This does not come through money or through people. Because all these things are not available always. They cannot be around us always. They're fluctuating. So all the time, what name, fame, money, position, possession, none of them can give you this emotional immunity. Only one and only thing is knowledge can give this emotional immunity. This is the benefit while I am living. Right? And there is next one, which after death, someone can enjoy. That will be explained by Prema in the next sloka. Yeah, thank you. Any doubts?
Thank you, Sana. The Shruti example was very nice. I liked it.
Yeah.
That how you remember the Shruti at all points of time.
I think very relatable examples. So
Yeah.
thank you, Sana, for that. And Prema, over to you. Let me know when I have to move the slide and I will do that.
We'll start with the shloka.
Sure.
Brahma eva aham asmi iti aparoksha jnanena nikhila karma bandha vinirmukta syat. So the very knowledge that I have through the aparoksha jnana method, that I am Brahman, that itself is enough to free me of all bondages. Nikhila karma bandhanat. Yeah, we can go to it. So I think we've gone through all this, so I won't get into all this again, because Aproksha Jnanam and Jivan Mukti, all these concepts, I think we have had a quite detailed explanation. So we'll go to the next slide. So Jnani and Agyani, I think here also we saw most of the points which were discussed. So the only connection now we have is from these concepts of uh, how it is related to the karma and how karma is responsible for punarjanma. So this is the connection shloka that we are finding in the text. So as per Shastras, the Sukshma and Karana Sharira continue. So that is the connection actually. So one part of the RM goes away, which is the Stula Shariram, but a part of the rest will remain, right? The RM and the RC. So they take in other physical body. So this is the continuity being established depending on the karma that the individual has uh, uh, acquired through his actions. So the body which takes birth again can be of any form. It's not necessary that a human being becomes a human. So this kind of actually contradicts science in a way, I think, because the Darwinian theory doesn't actually agree with this. Because the Darwinian theory always says that we go up in evolution. But here we find there is a contradiction. Because only Shastras talk about karma and accumulation of karma. Science doesn't. So here we say that the form can be anything. It can go to a so-called lower form because of our karmas. It's not necessary that we go up the chain. So again, of course, the uh, the time period, all that depends on so many accumulated associated karmas or the kind of body that we end up in. So this Punarapi Jananam Punarapi Maranam continues in this way because of this connection with the karma cycle. So this is the basic law of karma. But after that, there are a lot of things about karma. Actually, I have not made very detailed notes about each of the laws. I think I've just kind of listed them briefly. We can look at those. Yeah, we'll go to the next slide. Anand, we can go to next slide. So, no, I think we missed one slide. Yeah. So only one who can transcend these laws of karma can now we understand that they can go beyond this cycle of janma and maranam. So this escape from the cycle is called the videha mukti. Videha mukti. So this is moksha from the body. So how does it happen now? Brahma iva aham asmi iti aparoksha jnanena. By gaining this aparoksha jnanam only, of course, the gaining of the aparoksha jnanam also can be through practices, some teachings, meditation, whatever. So that realization that I'm the OC and not the RM or RC. And the Nikhila karma, which is being referred to in the shloka, that is all the shackles of the karmani, which are responsible for the cycle of life and death, as determined by the laws of karma again. Vinir Mukta, syat. From that, this freedom will be got. Only one who can transcend beyond this laws of karma will be freed from this Nikila karma. Okay. That is the basic meaning of the shlokam. So we can just go into a little more detail into the concept of this karma itself. So this karma bandhanam, shackles of karma. So karma is basically responsible for this repeated cycle of maranam and jananam. So once a person, an individual reaches this vinirmukta syat, then he can reach it only if the karma account goes to zero. The balance should not be there. So then we gain the freedom from this cycle, and the Jivatma totally merges into the Paramatma. That is because of the Jnanam again. It is at the level of Jnanam. And the laws of karma here have been dealt with in detail. I have not gone into so much detail in the presentation. Maybe we can just refer to the texts actually. So these laws of karma are particular only to our religion. And this also gives some kind of, emotional stability for us to face unpredictable situations. We can, always tell ourselves that this is due to some karmic imprints and things like that. So what is the theory of this karma? Doing sat karma results in karma palam. See, the karma palam can be negative, positive, adrishya. Adrishya is invisible. We cannot directly relate anything. Okay, I did that action, so I'm facing this. That relationship cannot be established, but it is there. And it helps us in some situations to feel that way. So Shastras also give very detailed guidelines as to what actions or what karmas can give us the concept of punyam or papam. So our accumulated sins or accumulated good deeds. So there is some kind of an account regarding all this. So, for example, the Shastras say that if you practice ahimsa, then your punyam will go up. So this kind of thing. But again, I think these kind of statements should again be, referred in conjunction with Dharma Shastras. Because if I just make a singular statement saying ahimsa is the way to go, it might not, be the right thing in some given situations. So I'm not sure. I think Vedant should, really, or anybody who can throw light on this. That's what I felt. Because is it something that will hold all the time in all circumstances? I don't. But anyway, for simplicity, we'll just assume for now. So then the next law. So all the papams will be converted into unfavorable conditions, and all the punyam that we have done will be converted to some favorable circumstances for us. So this we generally refer to as destiny. And punyam gives obviously happiness, and papam gives bad times. Probably there is, some, there is some way of controlling a societal structure, even by, giving these kind of guidelines by Shastras. It could have been, I don't know. Then the third law, we cannot put a timeline to when we will earn or find the palam of this punyam, or when we will get punished. There is no guideline. So whether it will happen now in our current birth, future births, nobody knows. Then the fourth law says that punyam papam can be earned. That this is, of course, something, which we can relate to, because punyam papam can be earned only in human birth. See, only humans are governed by these laws, because animals, you cannot, attribute bad, good kind of attributes to their actions, because they live only by instinct in the forest or whatever. So if some animal has wrongly crossed a road, we cannot say that the animal has done something bad or something. We can't apply the same set of rules to any other species. So that's fine. Then the last law, huh? So we have accumulated karmas, the punyam papams of all accumulated janmas. So that takes us into a different topic, which includes sanchita, prarabdha karmas, and agami karmas. The sanchita karmas are something which come with us across births. The prarabdha karma is something which we come with in the current birth. Okay. So these are what will rule our life generally. That's what we can say about karma, the laws of karma. That's what I have for today.
Yeah.
Any discussion on this?
Thanks, Prema. I'd like to just comment one thing which you said on
Yeah.
in terms of the violence, right?
Ah,
Ahimsa.
ah,
Just want to take that, right? So let's take an example. Now, when I'm disciplining my son, okay, the son is not behaving properly, I need to discipline the son. I need to show my anger, but I need not get angry. Without me getting angry, I can still show my anger. This is what we do with children many times, right? We show our anger because they need to be disciplined. I do what I have to do, but the violence is not inside me. So many times you said, one statement, then it depends on the situation that person is in. Sometimes if you are a soldier or something, you have to do violence because you are bound by the constraints of the duty. But the
that's what I
violence,
said. I think again the Dharma Shastras also
correct,
play a role. That's what I
can be,
think
no, I'm saying
some
the violence can be detached from what you actually feel from inside and what you need to do on the outside. So
for
if that,
example, I think a butcher has a job to do. It's not that
correct,
he's intentionally being violent or something.
definitely, that's a good example.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway, he's doing his dharma. So
correct.
finally, that is
Yeah.
what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, there is a story in the Mahabharata also of a butcher who's actually a very, I am not remembering the name. I'll probably find it and post it. He's a butcher, but he is an
Sure.
enlightened person. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they're doing their job, which is what we need to recognize. But if there is some intentional with an ulterior motive, an
Yeah.
action with an ulterior motive is a problem still.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, it's good to distinguish the two.
Yeah. Sahana, you were saying something.
Um, can you go to the first slide? First and second slide. I think this one. Yeah. No. The next.
This one?
No. The previous one. I think this
Sloka?
is one. Oh, sorry. This is the one. Yeah.
The role of karma.
Here, the RM and RC takes another physical body depending on the karma. So, RM is nothing but the body, right?
Yeah, but we have Sharira Trayam, right? Sharira Trayam is what is being referred to here. The Stula Shariram is not in the picture.
The Sukshma
But still,
Sharira
we have RM
also
and
takes.
RC related to the other two, right? That is what is being read.
So, RM means all the Sharira Trayam. So, in that, only the gross body is going to dissolve.
Yes.
Rest, everything is still there, even in the next
Yes.
body. Yeah.
That is a carryover, right?
Correct. Right.
So I had noted down something around law of karma and what is the advantage of looking at law of karma. Maybe I'll share it if either today or some other time.
We
Yeah.
still have 5 minutes. We
Oh, we
can.
still do have
Yeah.
time, Asha. I think you should.
Unless until I don't want to hijack the remaining
No,
time if someone else wants to
no, no.
have any question.
No, go ahead, go ahead.
Go
It's,
ahead. I think
that's what I was thinking. I think these laws of karma are finally, also bound by some laws. They are
Yeah.
advised for some reason.
So
I think
I
to keep a
collated
societal.
across, true. So I kind of collated some notes around why, what is the advantage, right? So um, it's kind of dicey to think that there's a transaction that's happening and all that. So even I wanted to understand. So this is a collation across some notes that I found based on Swami Paramarthananda's lectures and Swami Tyagananda and from Aurobindo. So just couple of points I'll just go through if we have the time.
sure.
Okay, so one is it says law of karma explains the disparity and differences in the living beings, right? So when, if let's assume you don't accept law of karma, then what happens is you have the which is where you have the Western concepts also, that it is all random. It's a principle of chance. Yeah, someone could have it, someone is having a suffering, someone is fine, it's all random chance. So by having a hypothesis like a law of karma, you can at least understand why there is a disparity and differences in the living beings. This is supposed to be the first advantage. Then second advantage is that it helps us in accepting the inexplicable sufferings, which happens always when we say why me, right? Why am I going through this suffering is a very normal question, because as human beings we are very tuned to have this cause and effect relationship, right? We do something, we expect a, some effect of it. So when we come back to our life and say why me, why am I going through this, law of karma helps us in accepting that I am responsible for every one of my suffering through my immediate past action or through my remote past action. This is supposed to be the second advantage. The third advantage is, this is something we have often seen, right? When someone goes through a really bad time, their faith in God is shaken, right? You suddenly say, okay, I have done so much prayer and then this has happened to me. So why should I even trust in God? So the third advantage is that faith in God will not be shaken if I accept the law of karma, because the suffering that I am experiencing in this life is because of my remote past actions, which I don't remember now. The whole premise is that God cannot be unjust. Otherwise, you are saying that God is unjust, right? That kind of goes against the whole theological methods of thinking. So, this is the third advantage. Fourth advantage is that this gives me that the control, that I can take responsibility for my future. I can take charge of my life and my future situations, right? Because I am saying that what I am doing in terms of the vasanas, and to come back to the vasana concept, prema, which I didn't explain very well, I think. But let's take the example that I am by nature a jealous person, or I am by nature, I am given to a lot of temper issues. So these are very inherent nature, right? So this can not change overnight, but it takes time to change certain of these things, right? By repeated habit, by reinforcing a different kind of, say, what we are learning in terms of gratitude and all that, there are certain changes we can bring in into our tendencies. That is the vasana we are talking about. And basically what we are saying is, my present situation is the result of my past actions, and therefore we say that I can take responsibility for my future, which will be based on my present action. So the people think that actually law of karma is fatalistic, right? But what the argument is that the law of karma alone is the antidote to fatalism, because law of karma tells me that I am responsible for my present situation and therefore I am responsible for my future. If I don't accept the law of karma, my conclusion is that someone else is responsible for my present situation, and if someone else is responsible, then someone else will be responsible for my future situation also, which means I have no control on anything. That is the fourth advantage. And fifth advantage is one of the fundamental questions asked by many people, especially youngsters, when we talk about an ethical way of life or a good way of life, one of the question asked by youngsters is, if you say ethical life is a blessing and unethical life is harmful, how come many good people are suffering and how come many corrupt people are having a good time? So this, Prema, coming back to what you were saying, you can restore morality in society only if you bring in law of karma, only if you bring in the concept of control, saying that yes, I have a control in my actions and I am responsible for my actions. If I have no responsibility for my actions, then I can resort to very sinful behavior. So that in one way corresponds to what you are saying about the societal norms.
Yes.
And then
Responsible citizens, basically.
responsible
It's,
citizens, yeah. And now taking a point from Aurobindo's thing, where Aurobindo talks about that when we talk about, right, good karma, bad karma, we always associate saying, okay, I am having a happy life, so it is the result of good karma. I'm having a bad life, it is the result of bad karma. But again, going back to that thing, what is good and what is bad? Suffering apparently is not a punishment. Now, if you take all our painful times in our life, it is through pain that we have evolved. So is suffering good or bad? So suffering is not a punishment, suffering is helpful in evolution. So if you were to take that our journeys are supposed to evolve ourselves, to evolve us to higher spiritual beings, then we have to unfortunately go through suffering. And then you might just view suffering in a very different way, saying that it is a necessary part of, going up the ladder of a spiritual evolution. So this is some of the things that I noted down. And then interestingly, there are some alternatives to law of karma which Swami Tyagananda talks about, saying alternatives to law of karma, what are they? One, matter of luck and random chance, which means that we don't really know how it happens. Everything is random, we have no clue what is happening and who's suffering and because of what. Second thing is, everything happens because of the will of God. This is a second argument. If you were to go with this, then you are saying, okay, this is very unjust. A God is very unjust or whimsical. Why? So such a whimsical God is of no use to anyone. So to remove this injustice, we are told that those who suffer now will rejoice later in heaven. But that also doesn't make sense, because it doesn't explain why there should be suffering at all. So to net, what I found was karma cannot be proved or disproved. However, it does not matter. It satisfies both the mind and the heart and empowers the person to face life boldly. It views individual life on a much larger canvas and is not truncated to a small sandwich between birth and death. So this is what I noted down in terms of why law of karma.
no, can you come back on the last bit?
Last bit was karma
Mm.
cannot be proved or disproved.
Mm.
However, it does not matter. It satisfies both mind and the heart and empowers the person to face life boldly. It views individual life on a much larger canvas and is not truncated to a small sandwich between birth and death. What it means is, we are only able to view our small slice of life in this, in this birth and death, right? In this life, we don't
Correct.
know what else has happened before. And actually, we are just a small line in that overall, big line that is there. We are just a point in that line. So
Yeah.
our evolution is continuously happening, right? So even when we look at suffering, we are only looking at that small slice of time. We don't know what has happened to us before and where we are going next. So that law of karma brings a semblance of control. So because the
Beautiful.
alternatives, if you see, right, it's all random, which is what many of the Western philosophies are. I mean, Western nihilism and all is basically, it says it's a random chance. Now, does that give us solace, saying it's all random? Or which one do you want to believe?
So evolution
Control of
also
it.
has helps.
Evolution.
Even in
So
evolution, these
yeah,
laws are.
so coming back to the point that you said, that it goes against the Darwinism nature of evolution. Now, don't take the previous life forms, but take life forms as of today, right? If you say that I have accumulated enough bad karma and I'm not going to be born a human, what is happening? I might be born a cockroach in my next life. It doesn't mean I have gone back in evolution. It's not that I have gone back and I'm going to become a dinosaur, but I am still here now, and I might be an animal or maybe a street dog. Now I am going to have all the suffering of, whatever that means, but I am not having any chance of correcting it or changing it, because I just have to go through it with no chance of redemption.
Yeah, but it is again, the meeting point of science is difficult here. That's a problem.
Yeah, we
Because
need to think more. I got what you're saying,
because
especially
science
the,
doesn't support this actually. I mean, at least Darwinian's theory doesn't support it.
correct.
So, but
But then
still,
It's
I
okay.
feel,
Science will also evolve
this
with time.
yeah, but you
Let's
look
give a
at
little time to science also.
you look at people having these extraordinary capabilities by the age of 5, by the age of 10, right? Someone has become a doctor by the age of 7, right? What is it? It's not like their genetic lineage had anything like that, but suddenly they have all of that, right? How do we even explain that? So that makes me think, at least, that there might be some credence to it, but yeah, more to think, I think, and debate.
no, anyway, science can't justify everything, so that's still okay. I
Yeah,
mean, these concepts are still okay. Yeah, we're fine with it.
correct.
I'm
At
so
least
glad,
we
Asha,
have
that
a lot of things to think over and, relate with and think more. Thanks a lot, Asha. I think, you have switched on a lot of thinking button
Yeah.
in me.
No, I actually saw this and I thought it is so useful, because I have also struggled with these questions of why to believe. But when I read these, it kind of started making sense. Now, again, as that last line says, right, it cannot be proved or disproved. If it cannot be proved or disproved, then what do you want to believe in? Something that gives you hope, or something that gives you like it's a completely random thing? So
Of
that kind of
course,
made sense.
we like to have a control over things, and that's how the whole mind body thing works. So, of course, something
Yeah,
which has like, I feel that, I'm in control, and that will give a little peace and solace. So,
yeah,
yes, it works for now.
right.
Let's be open and,
Yeah,
to explore it more.
yeah. Otherwise, I think these why me questions cannot go away,
mm,
right? It will always feel
Hmm.
unjust, because it
Okay.
is not possible that everyone is on the same footing, right? That feeling of injustice will never go away.
But
yeah,
again,
Hmm.
how does the, I mean, I really don't know, but what is the Western parallel or thinking in this
No,
respect?
I cannot come. I mean, I'm not studied to that much detail on the Western side, but the nihilistic philosophies are all, there is all random chance. So that does not give you any solace that it's a random chance.
So there is this text. It's called Kabbalah. It's the Jewish text. It's in Hebrew, and there are very few people who. So I don't know much about it, but I have gone through some of its reading, and they also talk about the souls, and there are parts of souls that you have to collect in order to get the moksha. So it does talk about moksha. Nowhere else, like whatever I have gone through, I have understood anything like this. What we have, the law of karma. I think Western world talks about the world is a chaos,
Yeah. Mm.
I
yeah,
had another question.
randomness.
When we take lower forms, suppose my next birth is that of a cockroach. Now, how does this karmas that I have accumulated as a human, how does it relate to that form? Is
See,
there any, I mean, do they really relate, or is there information about such things?
Prema,
Or
there is this one book. It's called Law of Spirit World. It's a real story in 1980s. I think there were these two couple in Bombay who lost their two kids, two sons, young sons, and they communicated. In there's some technique that they communicated with the spirit and all, and they talk about all the heaven, hell, and all the seven layers and everything. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but it gives you a little perspective. So if you want, you can read it and just like, the all the questions that you're having, you will get a little perspective of it, like how it function. There's a lot of examples also that they talk about that, how the law of karma function works.
My specific doubt is when we take a lower form than a
Hmm.
human form,
Hmm.
lower in the evolution
Hmm.
structure, then how does this accumulated karma affect that
You
lower
go
form?
through it. Na? See, even if you're a cockroach or a street dog or something, so look at the life of street dogs, right? You are continuously fighting for survival. So a lot of the negative karmas are what getting exhausted. So
Hmm.
the whole idea of going to a lower form is because that you do not have that sufficient thing to be a human form, is what my
Hmm.
understanding is.
Hmm.
So you just exhaust the negative ones, but you don't accrue any fresh karma, because as an animal form you don't have any free will. you
Hmm.
you are not responsible, right?
Hmm.
That way, even if you take a judiciary, we don't give a sentence to a mentally unstable person,
Hmm.
because they are not responsible for their actions. So if you're
Hmm.
not responsible, there is no karma to be accumulated.
Absolutely.
No, karma accumulation is fine. What is the effect of the
Exhaustion.
accumulated karmas?
Exhausted ones, I think it
Exhausted.
will keep
Exhausted.
exhaust. It will keep
Oh,
getting exhausted. Yeah,
okay.
the negative ones specifically.
Yeah,
I
and,
think
It's
In
nice
fact,
to
there is a
imagine all this actually.
in fact
and the
there is a
point.
saying. It says that it's easier to resolve your karmas in human form than any other form, and especially when you're born on earth, because then it exhausts, because you have a free will to choose. You have a sensibility, you have a consciousness, and you can acquire all these knowledge and reach at certain level and resolve your karmas.
Mm. Yeah, that's what it is said, right? The human form is the only form where it's both the karma yoni and the bhoga yoni. So the
Hmm.
karmas only form in this birth, and that's why it is said that this is the chance when you are born as a human to exhaust and attain moksha. You cannot do it in any other form because they
Hmm.
are all bhoga yoni.
Hmm.
They say even the devtas are bhog yoni. Once their good karmas are exhausted, they come back and go through the grind.
Right.
So yeah, that's what I think Asha was trying to say. That rest everything is a bhog yoni. Only this we have a freedom to choose where we want to go.
Hmm.
Yeah.
At least the potential is there.
Absolutely. That's why this all the scriptures say that use this human birth. This is the only yeah
Salvation.
the door to heaven or salvation exactly or the door to moksha.
Yeah, but I think one aspect which I found, which struck me is that rather than looking at karma as a very transactional thing, like there is a ledger and it's maintained. Like I did some 10 things, now I should get back the whatever is the good of 10 things. Instead of looking at it that way, I thought a better way to look at karma is basically in every life we are evolving our tendencies,
Hmm.
right? We are evolving in some way. So the subsequent, so I think Sri Krishna says in Gita that if in this life I've done a lot of things, will it all become zero after this life? Right, in Gita there is a shloka which talks about that, and he says that no, whatever you have done will keep getting accumulated. So let's say you have evolved your mental vasanas and your mental with whatever spiritual sadhanas you have evolved yourself, that will not go away. You might not, let's say, attain jivan mukta in this life. Maybe it will take several, many more lives to do that, but you are still evolving,
Hmm.
right? So that won't go away. So a better way to, I think, look at karma is that it's evolution of your tendencies, evolution of your vasanas. Circumstances will happen, and these circumstances are meant for your spiritual evolution. that's that's
Wonderful.
the that's the way to look at it, rather than saying, acha, I did some good work for some 100 people, so I need to get that back in my next
Hmm.
life.
We'll get back to the first chapter then. Get attached with what the things that we are doing and expecting the result out of it.
Correct, yeah, very true.
Wonderful discussion. Loved it.
Wonderful, really wonderful. And the point I wanted to make was this why me comes only when you go through your bad times or hard times, right? The why me doesn't even strike when things are going absolutely fine.
Very
So
true.
why don't we do the why me then? Yeah, Asha, thank you for this, and I think it was a great discussion. I'm sure Bidan will listen to this, and next week we should start with his perspective. But thank you, everyone. Really appreciate. We've gone a little over time, and may I request Asha to actually take us through the prayer and then close? Asha, if you can.
Okay, sure. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you,
Yeah.
everyone. Thanks,
Thank
Asha.
you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Anand, for
Thank you.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Anand, for being the
Thanks
host.
for hosting, Anand.
Oh, no,
hosting
it's fine.
the
Thank you.
session.
You see, we never thanked Bidan all these weeks for hosting.
I think we should. I think we
No, we
should.
do.
We
We
did
do.
thank you.
No.
I think next week we'll start with that.
Sure.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Have a good
Thank
evening.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Good night,
you.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.